Hi. Hi, I'm Kristina Frost for General Motors. Braces and bands version. Very proud of myself. Should be getting them off in the next week. I'm writing a book about my journey after losing to General Motors in state and federal court years ago after a Buick exploded July 4th, 2018. Actually, July 3rd, the eve of July 4th, 2018. And after losing my children and fighting this fire and losing my skin and going through skin graft surgeries, after 7 years and running away to Detroit, I've changed my life. And in the process of doing so, I had written down this journey. Believing in myself, not believing in myself, the struggles, the living out of Airbnbs, not knowing I was going to move to Detroit. And so it's part of my discipline in making sense of my life that I had this purpose still and carrying my cross. And I've written notes along the way that have inspired me to keep going and along with my journey. And so the book began as the application of integrity I now call looking for signs. And that I had always applied what I had learned about the Bible and astrology and what would happen in court, and when I would follow the signs to move to Detroit, to take on the jobs, take dance lessons, become a dance instructor, and do the things I've always wanted to do. I wrote it all down, and I wrote it in hopes that I would discover the answer to my hypothesis. What happens if you try? What would happen if I didn't give up and I was in a ditch somewhere like I wanted to be, but I took on my adversary and moved to Detroit and had to be the strongest woman in the world, and took on a little roommate that we had an apartment in Detroit looking at the General Motors building where I would have these conferences with judges and lawyers that would drop my representation, and after 5 years, and malpractice and malevolence that I'm still fighting today. So it had given me some sense of peace and refuge writing this book. I went to the gym every day and to the pool before anybody went outside and woke up. I was the first one in because I had burns all over my body. And this is the first summer after 7 years that I've worn shorts. And you can still see my scars. And the first time I've been tanning in 15 years, since I was 18. I had my children when I was 21 and I was in college at Western Carolina University. I had my daughter. She was 5 at the time of the accident. Shauna Renee Mays, her father's last name, and my son Tristan Allen Mays was 2. Shauna and Tristan, both Scorpios. Death and rebirth, transformation, yeah. So all the signs are there. Afterward, so what does it do for me? It's not just signs, it's also this discipline of sitting down and walking in faith and putting one foot in front of the other still. And in 7 years, God gave me everything I asked for, even though he sacrificed. I don't understand one of my last sentences today. I don't understand the sacrifice. I had a dream, and I had added some things today. I add to the end. I had a dream. 7 years later to the day, I bought a boat approved by my grandfather, or I wouldn't have bought it. Said I had to buy a boat approved by my grandfather. And even a boat, you guys, even traveling, even having a house on the water, I did everything I had hoped and said I would do. And I had a dream of my daughter with me on the couch, and she got up quickly after a while and reminded me of my anger. Mom, you used to get mad at this. You still love me even though this. And I started crying and woke up upset, and we can't take any of this good without any of the bad lingering and this, teeter-tottering of whatever, but nothing can make up. When I was younger, it was so hard to be a mom, and my children's father was an alcoholic who hates it probably when I say it now, but doesn't mind telling anyone he struggles. And there'll be a day when I can reach back out to him, but I have to have space too. And he's a great father. Just struggled himself. Taught Sean our ABCs, took them outside every day into the garden, made dinner every night. And so I had this dream. It just reminds you of all this. I struggled before writing my book, and I wanted to record it because I wanted to know what happened if you tried. I don't know the outcome. I don't know where to find the editors or the publishers, but I know putting the steps and walking one foot in front of the other, it will happen. So the discipline is important. It's not just being able to do things and dance and teach and drive jet skis around. So on that note, I have a couple notes I wanted to add to the end today. My goal is to work for at least 45 minutes. I've been going a little bit before we started, catching up on some events and some astrological correlations that I like to add. And to one day, my dream, what I always would repeat in front of my children and taking broadcasting classes in college, was to give people hope one day. And through these lessons and what I've convinced myself as these underlying truths, my Cherokee elder would say, it's one thing to know something and it's another to live that way. And I always say, I know things more than I believe them. And I test the theory of what goes on in the subjective, the intangible world, what we see and touch is the very physical world, but the intangible, the thoughts and feelings and things we can't see that are connected to the physical world, and watching it play out. And Reverend Ike would say, seeing God's backside, and that we can hear God maybe, and maybe our thoughts and our consciousness, Reverend Ike would say, and then the physical world is seeing God's backside. So the subjective, objective result, the intangible and the tangible, is really what my book is about. But I want to add a few of my notes here. We'll see how long we get. I'm going back to the beginning, and it's quite humbling to go back to yourself years ago and see yourself processing the biggest traumatic event of your life, but also the solutions about it. So, which was not easy. I had to fight for disability for over 3 years, and then I lost disability because I went to work full time. I was super proud, teaching dance, so of all things. So a couple notes I want to put in here, and I'll usually put them in pretty boldly. And so when I go back in, I'll expand on them later. And a couple quotes I had written down was, to God, timing is as sacred as truth. And what has actually made me come to this realization is, I've noticed he's in my book, an older gentleman that I've been seeing, I've really enjoyed. And even though someone going through a divorce and someone like me who feels like I'm looking at family through the outside, you know, like I'm like, or maybe on the inside looking out a window at everybody's families, or I'm on the outside looking at inside on everybody's families and their homes, and in my head what all that comes with seeing families. And but I told this gentleman that he was a mirror to me, but he teaches me so much a mirror that he reminds me of my children. He has the same birthday as my daughter, but a mirror to me, but also he teaches me about timing and femininity and timing and silence, and that our interactions are purposeful. And a lot of times I lose interest very quickly, and they say that with PTSD, or the art of distraction, or ways to cope with PTSD is that we deviate, we move on to another thing. I go to the gym, I stay very physically active, and I get all my chores done, go to work, go to dance training, and I stay very busy, where I'm not on the couch very much just thinking about things. But when you do, and you create anxiety through the space and thinking about something or someone, and the anxious texting and all that starts to come out. So timing is sacred. And I'd say the space between time, you know, or the time that is space before those moments is just as important. Trust the process. God is bigger than fear. There's more to this saying. Trust the process. God is bigger than fear. I really had a hard time continuing writing my book because I felt like, what's the point? I've lost everything. I've gained everything, but what I can lose, what I have lost, I can't gain it back. So what's the point? Lord, I don't understand, but I trust you. This is the other part. Lord, I don't understand, but I trust you. So these are a couple things that I've written down. Next, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. I agree. Why I wrote it down. And I think I'm having a hard time in my dance classes because I feel very different. And my peers are very sweet. They want to relate. Some of my peers are mothers, and they say, yeah, I'm a mom, I'm a mom, I'm a mom. And I hear it all day. Doing my hair, I'm a mom, you know, I have to do this, and you know. And it really hurts. I think it triggered a lot of PTSD going to Denver and performing, which is a dream of mine, to have a dress made for me at 33 years old and go perform. That was a dream come true. Carl Jung, gotta give him credit. Carl Jung, one of my favorite philosophers. Detach from the outcome and marry the process. Very good. Detach. Why is that? Well, because if we don't, that's when we claim we need motivation. I have no motivation. I just don't have the discipline. If we marry the process, it won't be an issue. Discipline won't be an issue. And it is every day that I go to the gym and walk out, or go to dance class and show up, or write my book, I feel accomplish, I feel, the self-esteem, that discipline, and executing on your ideas will give you. Taking on suffering with grace is noble. Taking on suffering with grace is noble. One of my favorite quotes from Jordan Peterson, who, if you don't know who Jordan Peterson is, earlier in this book, I speak about him, and then I end up going to see him at Fox Theater in Detroit. Oh, not Fox Theater, it was the Fillmore in Detroit. I saw Jordan Peterson, his Order and Chaos tour. And that's, you know, what I think looking for signs is trying to navigate or bring order to chaos. Integral, so that's the point of this book, this quote, integral or coherent. Integral, to be coherent. Integral, I'm going to put equals coherent, as I did in my notes. Equals the inside and the outside are the same. And I do have that earlier in my book, something like what is the integrity of a glass? How well can it hold water? But also how infused, let's say, a liar is not very integral, because what they say and what they do are two different things. Integration, I think, is integrating the intangible world and the physical world, so that your physical world will match what goes on up here. Maybe even the way you hope to love somebody, which I thought was funny today, because I had been forever praying before April season and spring, when the time of opportunity comes, that I had just been praying to have a man around who I could trust their advice and seek guidance from. And I think I'm hoping that I found a friend that I can do that with, and I feel that with. And so that coherency and that integralness, that truth and resonance is magnetic. And they say it's very attractive to be yourself, to be true, which makes sense to me. Because if there is some kind of life force and our ego deviates from that, you know, sometimes we have an intuition or a gut feeling and we go against it. And we're like, oh, yeah, why didn't I listen to myself? You know, maybe there's something there that knows more than we do. A little bit about my book, Looking for Signs. It's as if there's something bigger than us that has our back or knows what's going on. And I've learned to trust that through all my signs. So we got about 25 more minutes. I want to go back to the beginning here. It says start here. We're at chapter 14. Step aside, let it take over. Perfect. Facing the shadow. I've never been closer to suicide is a phrase that I've been repeating in my mind the last week. Facing General Motors and even flow attorneys doing depositions, questioning me on my character when it's been clear their conduct and ethics on American lives are, let's say, is not integral. It's not a complete sentence, I don't think. It's not integral. We'll fix it later. As if I am some enemy combatant of my own flesh and blood children, even flow, gosh, gets better and better. Everything I am facing proves to be the most malevolent in its own name, even flow. So the reason I say that, like Eve bit, you know, the forbidden fruit, Eve symbolically, or in the evening time of Libra, when the sun is waning during the year and comes into judgment, Libra, Eve, the evening scales, there, we would say Saturn begins his exaltation in Libra. Saturn is opposing the sun that exalts in Aries, or Adam, Eve, symbolically. So myself going even crazier, thinking I'm seeing symbolic, even in the name, symbology of these companies that I'm facing. And there's more to come too in the book too. So even flow, water, maritime law, in the medicine wheel that Santos Bonacci teaches and the ascended masters before him, where lies the scales of justice, Libra, where the evening begins and the sun sets, as in Horus, the horizon at 6 a.m. in the east and sets in the setting sun in the west at 6 p.m. On a yearly cycle calendar, this would represent Libra, the scales of justice. If the top half of the circle represented land and the bottom half water, it's apparent to me these companies claim to be our adversary. Right in our faces, in their names, they are evil and they are to be punished. If not, we will at least see their fall by awakening to their destruction on mankind, trapping our children in seatbelts and setting bombs, often purchased vehicles from them. In our purchased vehicles from them, because General Motors, GM, in Hebrew also means camel and water. So, pure evil. We should, if nothing else, quit buying, I think it says quit buying their products, return their faulty ones to their front door, and cancel GM and cancel Evenflow for the sake of your children and everyone else's, or for everyone else you love and your fellow man. Cancel them. I was very much like that. I was protesting in the streets. I was a crazy woman. We'll see how many people are awake. We will see how much we hurt their damn profits and pockets. But who gives a damn about their money? I want their names, and I will use them to speak the truth that these corporations are in cahoots and perverted. As if they don't care about our children. Tag, whatever you want. I thought I have never been closer to suicide. I want at times to give up. I got too excited. I want at times to give up, as if it's pointless to fight for a humanity that doesn't give a shit about your children, their own children, if it costs them their new GMC family car. Wow. I feel like I'm screaming for my children's lives and everyone's lives, and nobody can hear me. No one body, no one person. My lawyers and my parents don't see or hear anything I say. I have shown them nothing but proof from the Commander-in-Chief, Russell J. Gold, who has clearly stated, you cannot state a claim under your birth certificate status, period. Yet they are such indoctrinated liars, they keep conceiving their own selves, their current beliefs are accurate. Yet these lawyers are such liars, I should say. Liars are such a... Let's get one thing straight. I don't believe in shit. I know. I ask, research, and know. So I'm a bitch because I am demanding my claim of life and not be misaddressed in court. And they are committing fraud against my name by not listening to me and by not accommodating me the money for our claim of the lives. It's fraud. And I will sue their asses next. I will come for my own lawyers. Oh my gosh. Wow. Did I call that? I had to take a step back from all my Admiralty Maritime Law. Not that I don't believe in it. I have yet to see the court system work, so we'll see. But we're going after malpractice. We're going to see if the court system is real, because we're not settling. We're going to trial. Wow, I will come after my own lawyers, which I am now. So that's crazy. This is a fiction. I did do a documentary I'm trying to post called The Rapture Begins in Detroit, which I did post it Return of the Renaissance. General Motors burned my American vessels alive. I think it will be a hit. It explains Admiralty maritime law and its fictitious grammar system. I even ended up making a part 2. Go check it out. I cannot be a victim. I cannot be sad. And poor me, what can I do against these evil corporations? The largest corporation in the world. I'm just saying. I have proved myself right on every matter. The birth certificates, the grammar in court, now the Supreme Court Chief Judge, Postmaster General, confirming everything I am studying. Yes, I must keep going. I must prove that I am correct. And maybe I will prove to myself, I can bring my children back as I think I can. I had a dream the other night and I want to write it in here too. I had a dream the other night. I need to write it down. That after I had a good time with my friend who's older and not planning on having children anymore, I was like, okay, I don't have to see the future. I enjoy this right now. And my daughter came to me in a dream on the couch. I've been sleeping on the couch ever since. And she said, it's like as if she had the blanket over top of me and she was going away, floating up above me. And she was saying, I guess you can let us go now. And I woke up crying in a huge fit, saying, it's unacceptable, Shauna. You know that's unacceptable. I'd never let you go. And traumatizing, super traumatizing. Super traumatizing. Oh, I am aware. Let's see. That's the next sentence. I keep ordering a bullhorn to protest September 24th, 2021, but Amazon keeps returning them before they arrive. Oh, I am aware they have eyes on me. Here's where everyone's like, oh, she's nuts. There are eyes on me. I think someone stole my book, The Devil's Pulpit by Reverend Robert Taylor, from my car. I think it's a threat, but I have plenty more threats for these dead corpses, corporations. You hold no water on American soil, now off our shores, proven enemy of the states. I must be the crazy lady of Detroit. I applied for an apartment here and pulled a red flag on my application for rental history I thought was thousands of dollars to pay back. The same week, my attorney sent me some pervert scumbag psychologist. By the way, in the waiting room was another man suing General Motors. But we have different lawyers, liars, right? There is a fox guarding the hen house at every turn. I was so pissed at this man, so inconsiderate. Cut me off, rude, questioned if I was supposed to be there at all. Looked at me like white trash. I'm sorry, I can't even wear summer clothes because I have skin grafts all over my body, let alone find a pair of slacks that fit my budget, mother effer. Maybe we should put a couple stars there. Mother effer. So, Dr. Steiner, you can suck my much larger theoretical than yours. Excuse me, I will be head of all these mother effers that dare question my character. My attorney said, oh, he said the meeting went well. Oh, did he mean... Oh, did he mention I refused to stand up and leave because he made me wait for an hour before seeing me? Then barely asked me a question that he had to interrupt me to answer? Let's see. Then barely asked a question that he had to interrupt the answer to. And said, okay, I'll see what I can do. Said, excuse me, sir. So I said, excuse me, sir, you didn't ask me anything that will help me. He knew I was pissed. Effing actors, all of them, my attorneys too. I wake up gripping my teeth, yelling at these actors committing fraud against my name. Then I have to smoke cannabis and relax, which is just a process of photosynthesis. So it helps with my anger, my sleep, my appetite, my ability to get up and work out. I personally think I'm coming away from cannabis. then I think, but I mean, it's just money. I always had to push forward. It was my moment to relax. And now I don't feel the need to relax anymore. Maybe sometimes if I get angry. This mother effer from Even Flow has the nerve to question my disability, trauma, PTSD, and my physical handicaps. I have pain. I deal with my pain the best I can. It doesn't mean I stop moving. Effing moron. Just because I am more talented than you and will suffer through pain to dance at halftime for a Charlotte Hornets game after skin graft surgeries on my entire legs, it's because I'm effing capable of anything, including taking down corporate tyrants and freeing humanity from enslavement, you effing dunce. Oh man, I cracked myself up. This is me 4 years ago. I dare you to come against me. I will eat you alive on fire. July 4th, 1776, the day of the slaves. Day of the Slaves, July 4th, 1776. According to Postmaster General Russell-J. Colin Gold, who owns the Title IV flag of the United States. And this is the guy I'm listening to at this time. According to Postmaster General and Commander-in-Chief Russell-J. Colin Gold, now you can remember this day, July 3rd and 4th, 2018, my children and I explode from GM and Even Flow, planted destruction. Day of freedom for humanity. The rapture begins in Detroit. Return of the Renaissance. And boom, Frosty went insane. And it's all documented on my YouTube. I'm glad to look up and see what I have previously wrote. I'm glad to look up and see what I have previously wrote. Circumferences all that is circling in my mind as I wake up upon the 6 in the morning sun we know as Horus, Ra, Michael. I wake up with him every morning. Gosh almighty, that sounded kind of poetic. Is cannabis integral? Yes, that is what it was that I was going to write about. How it assists me in not just eating and sleeping, and as a person with trauma now, is extremely deadly significant to me, but it helps with my anger. This is why I think it has, and I should say my pain, eating, pain, and sleeping, helps with my anger. This is why I think it has and kind of always had assisted me in that way. When I microscope all my problems and stresses, cannabis zooms me back out and gives me a better perspective on the situation, so I can believe there is a time and place for it. I can't speak for anyone else, but it assists those routines. You better believe people should be using it daily, in my opinion. Daily, in my opinion. Daily. In my opinion. Put a couple commas there. Or at least when motivation, creativity, appetite, depression, sleep deprivation, confusion, anxiety, repeating harmful thoughts, PTSD, etc. It's not a complete sentence, and I'm gonna etc. resurfaces, or I want to say like doesn't digress, like won't leave you alone, or like won't dissipate, or won't, or is needed or resurfaces. Because really, that I'm going to highlight that, because really that should be separated from its positive clauses and its negative clauses. If integral means to integrate, or the insides match the outsides. Wow, I just said that was earlier in the book, and here it is. Or the solidity of a thing we describe as nouns, facts. Oh man, did this get interesting. I didn't answer what I was going to say. If integrity means to integrate, or the inside matches the outside, then I would say, instead of or, you'd say the solidity of a thing we describe as nouns, facts. No, it's not, nothing's really complete here. If integrity means to integrate, or the insides match the outsides, I could say it would make sense. It would make sense. In quantum grammar theory, we're going to have to change all this. In quantum grammar theory, this is the studying. I was paying $150 for every 2 hours. I was studying quantum grammar, which is the proper way to write our English, where we can have a prepositional phrase that properly presets the facts and the adverbs control the nouns. Otherwise, it's not a complete sentence and it doesn't mean anything and it has no weight. It would make sense in quantum grammar that the solidity of a thing we would describe as nouns. We would describe as nouns. Facts. Nouns are facts in quantum grammar. Place and person thing. Oh man, did this get interesting. Worth saying goodbye to old friends. Oh man, that's right. I got into it with some old friends. Maybe we can go over this. This is a pretty long chapter. And I'm pretty close to my goal here. This is super long. And I think eventually I probably won't. Oh, I know why I added this. So my friends, we were trimming cannabis when I was up here in Detroit. I didn't know I was going to move here. I was saving up money. I was protesting. I was acting like a crazy woman. And everyone would ask for cannabis at the end of the night. And when I did, they say, oh, Chrissy, you know, we don't like you doing that. And, you know, to them, these Chaldean women in Detroit, it was like getting a bonus. They didn't smoke. But my other friends did, that we all trimmed there with them. And I'd been trimming with them for a couple of years in the summer if I needed to. And they would say things like, you know, oh, we can't wait, you know, for you to have a family again and to have children again one day. And, you know, but they also wanted me to bartend their weddings or whatever. So we had a falling out because they wouldn't tell me about jobs because of this. And I said, do you know what I've been through? In North Carolina, we can't afford this. I'm paying rent in North Carolina, rent in Michigan, and trimming for you. And I just asked, these men don't mind giving you these, you know, bonuses. But anyway, so we had in the chapter on the integralness of cannabis, my so-called friends who make a lot of money, you know, and after what I've been through, just didn't seem to be very good friends. So how integral, I don't know how integral it is, but it did cause a lot of problems back then. Now I think it's just a matter of procrastination. I write down all my goals and I'm going to check them off anyway. But now it would take longer if I smoked and then go do it. And so just use your lingering and thoughts and thinking about things too much, I think. I can get a little emotional. So I think I want to start at a different chapter. And put a note in here to go over this upper chapter alone, because it seems like it's going to be me venting a lot. And I think it's going to have to be cleaned up in a way that makes sense, so it's even relevant for an audience to hear. So, yep, I'm just looking to make sure I can read this. So I make a big statement. Start here. So where we're going to start next time is going to be got something out of it. Didn't know what it was going to be, but it was good. So that's good. I don't know what it's going to be about yet. Oh, maybe the kid? I don't know. Or the apartment in Detroit. I ended up trying to pay off my red flags and stuff to get the apartment in Detroit. And this is all happening while I'm trimming up in Detroit, protesting up in Detroit, that you can see on my YouTube. If you click on my homepage, it should be the first video there. The rapture begins in Detroit. So I'm proud of myself. I did what I said I was going to do today. Literally everything, from going to the gym, tanning, as you can see. Usually turns out better the next day. But I don't know how good it is for my skin. I couldn't tan for years, but it looks like it's been helping. Makes me feel better. That I don't feel like I stand out so much. My skin grafts kind of blend a little. But so please go check out my story, and I really appreciate you all for listening. And hopefully my story will be written at one point where you can find it. And I have over 100 pages here, lots of written notes that kept me along, transits and biblical studies. So please stay tuned, subscribe for updates on what happens if you try and looking for signs. So here we go. My sister has surprised me and she's on her way. I'm missing dance. So we're not getting those goals done this week. My instructors are going to be really upset. But everything else is good. Managing emotions, and I get the waves. Trying to stay busy. My sister's really going to help this week. So let me know what you're going through, how you're seeing the signs, how you know what you put into your mind you can make real. I write everything down and check it off. I did it for 4 years. It's all in the book. It's all on YouTube. It's all on Instagram, TikTok. Go check it out. Frosty Detroit. And until next time, should be next week, we get back into our disciplines. And then I'm going to read on YouTube how to be a DJ, because that's my next goal. And I worked in broadcasting and radio for years. So stay tuned. Frosty wants to DJ.